Your Chihuahua chooses one exact place every single night. And you think you understand why. You don't. Because what looks like comfort is actually a survival decision happening inside a tiny body you underestimated. It waits silently before you notice it. It scans the bed like it is reading invisible signals. Then it moves. Slow. Precise. And it does not choose beside you. It does not choose the corner. It chooses between your legs. That exact position, every time. Not random. Not habit. Not affection alone. A behavioral pattern like this, according to veterinary ethology research, is rarely about preference. It is about regulation and survival optimization. Because in the biological world, your Chihuahua still operates in proximity is not emotional. It is functional. Heat retention, safety mapping, threat reduction, and your body becomes all three at once. That's the part most owners never realize. You think your dog is sleeping with you. But in reality, it is positioning itself for survival inside the only system it fully trusts. There is a reason your Chihuahua never stays still in cold air. And it has nothing to do with comfort. It is biology. A Chihuahua is not built like larger dogs. Its body is small, compact, and extremely sensitive to heat loss. According to biological scaling principles, smaller animals lose heat far faster than larger ones. Because surface area does not scale the same way as body mass. So what looks like a simple sleeping position is actually a survival calculation happening every night. Between your legs, your Chihuahua finds something essential. Stability, warmth, and controlled heat retention. Your body becomes a constant thermal source, a living radiator in the middle of the night. And for a small dog, this is not luxury. It is regulation. Veterinary behavior studies suggest that toy breeds often actively seek conductive heat sources during rest periods because their metabolic rate remains high even during sleep. So while you are resting, your Chihuahua is still managing energy loss, still compensating, still adjusting its body to survive the temperature gap of the environment. And that small decision to sleep between your legs is one of the most efficient survival strategies it has learned. Not affection first, not habit first, but temperature control disguised as closeness. There is something most owners misunderstand about this breed. They think it is fragile by accident. It is not. It is the result of selection over generations of proximity to humans. Unlike working breeds shaped for distance, independence, and task execution, Chihuahuas were shaped for something entirely different. Closeness, attachment, constant presence near a human body. According to companion animal behavioral research, this type of selective breeding strengthens social dependency pathways rather than independent problem-solving behavior. So what you are seeing at night is not just a dog choosing warmth. It is a behavioral system designed to prioritize proximity as safety. And there is another layer beneath that. Neoteny, the retention of juvenile traits into adulthood. In simple terms, your Chihuahua's brain keeps certain puppy-like attachment patterns active for longer than in most breeds. That means the emotional blueprint does not fully shift into independence. It continues to look outward for guidance, for protection, for stability. And in a domestic environment, that reference point becomes you. Not as an owner, but as a constant environmental anchor. So when it chooses between your legs, it is not simply finding a sleeping position. It is returning to the center of its perceived safety system. A place where instinct, history, and bonding all overlap into one signal. Stay close. Do not drift away. This is where survival feels certain. What looks like sleeping is actually a chemical conversation happening in silence between your body and a nervous system that has learned to trust you completely. When your Chihuahua settles between your legs, something subtle begins to shift. Not in behavior first, but in chemistry. Oxytocin begins to rise, the same neurochemical linked to bonding, safety, and emotional attachment. At the same time, stress hormones begin to decrease. The body moves out of alert mode and into restoration. According to neuroscience research on human-animal interaction, prolonged physical proximity can activate parasympathetic regulation in both species. Which means your dog is not just calming down. Its entire system is recalibrating around safety. But there is something even more powerful happening beneath that. Dopamine, the reward signal of the brain. Every time closeness leads to warmth, comfort, or gentle contact, the brain records it as a positive outcome. And so the pattern strengthens. Not through training, not through command, but through repetition of emotional reward. Closeness becomes expectation. Expectation becomes habit. And habit becomes biology. So when your Chihuahua returns to that same space every night, it is not choosing randomly. It is following a reinforced chemical map, drawn by safety, comfort, and trust. And over time, this map becomes more reliable than instinct alone. Because the body remembers what the mind does not explain. There is a truth most people never consider. Because it is invisible to human perception, but not to a small body like this. To a Chihuahua, the world is not scaled for comfort. It is scaled for overwhelm. Sounds are louder. Movements feel faster. Distances feel wider than they are. Even silence can feel uncertain. And so the nervous system learns something simple. Stay close to what is stable. Stay close to what does not disappear. You, according to behavioral science on attachment and threat response. Smaller companion animals often anchor themselves to a consistent figure in the environment to reduce perceived uncertainty. Not because they are weak, but because predictability becomes safety. And at night, when everything slows down, that need becomes even more visible. Your body is no longer just warmth. It becomes orientation, direction, protection. Between your legs, the world feels contained again. The chaos reduces. The space shrinks, the threat distance disappears, and what remains is stillness. But there is another layer here most owners misread completely. This is not only about fear. It is about trust under vulnerability. Because choosing to sleep in your most defenseless position is not random behavior. It is a biological statement. I do not need distance to feel safe. I choose closeness even when I am most exposed. And that kind of decision is never just instinct. It is attachment, shaped by experience and reinforced by trust. There is a moment every night when everything goes quiet. No movement, no scanning, no searching, just stillness. And in that stillness, your Chihuahua chooses the same place again. Between your legs. And this is where everything you thought you understood begins to shift. Because what looks like dependence is not simply dependence. What looks like clinginess is not simply neediness. According to behavioral science on attachment systems, repeated proximity-seeking behavior is often a sign of a stabilized safety bond, not dysfunction. In other words, this is not a broken behavior. It is a functional one. A system that says, I feel regulated when I am near you. I do not need distance to feel safe. I choose your presence as my resting state. And when a Chihuahua sleeps between your legs, it is not asking to be carried through life. It is asking for something far more specific. Consistency. Predictability. Safety that does not disappear when the lights go off. And maybe the most misunderstood part of all, this behavior is not one-sided. Because every night, without words, without training, without condition, your dog is also choosing you. Not as an owner, but as a system of protection it has learned to trust completely. So the next time you feel that small body settle between your legs, do not think of it as clinginess. Think of it as a question answered, and a trust that does not need words to exist. If your Chihuahua does this too, comment 1. Just one number, to show you understand what this really means.